I also like the
Okay.
All right.
All right. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Contested NBA podcast. I'm your co-host, Ethan Cope. I'm here once again with Alex Thelma, Max Tepper.
What up?
And today, since the season's over, we already had, the podcast on the Lakers winning the championship. So we wanted to update you guys on some coaching news because that's really been like the only thing going on, even though there have been like a good amount of hires. And what else was there?
The start of next season. We got an idea on that.
Yeah, we got an idea on the start of next season. And we also wanted to give you guys our plans for this offseason since, there's still going to be like the news updates that we give you guys.
What's going on? Yeah.
Is that better?
No. I was just saying because your mic is all the way up here. I don't know if you wanted to put it next to your mouth.
Oh. I mean, can you hear me fine?
Yeah,
I don't know if it made a difference, but
I don't
really
think it does with the laptop. Okay.
All right,
anyways, I thought you were telling me to like lower my mic volume.
No.
Never mind. But anyways, we wanted to give you guys an update on what we have planned for the off season since, we're not going to be able to be talking, going over games and stuff. There will just be the occasional news and like, free agency will come up, stuff like that. The trades, off season stuff always happens.
So I would wait for you guys at home. I would wait until the end of the episode to see what we have in store for the off season specifically, because we do have a plan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what else I was going to say? We have come up with a lot of ideas, which I think is going to provide for a very entertaining and fun off season for the viewers, not only for us. I think we're going to, we'll get into it. But anyways, we're going to start with some coaching news. So in the past, week or two, we've seen Ty Lue, I guess, get like promoted to head coach for the Clippers.
Yeah.
And then Stan Van Gundy is returning to coaching as the coach of the Pelicans. The Pacers hired Nate
Bjorkgren.
I didn't know how to pronounce the last name.
We'll just call him. Yeah, we'll just call him Nate.
We'll call him Coach Nate.
Yeah, there you go.
So the Pacers
replace Nate with Nate
for Nate. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, okay. And then
that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the coaching. Thunder and Rockets are still both searching for a new head coach, and that might now be a little bit more of a struggle for the Rockets, considering Daryl Morey stepped down. Yeah, and I did see some news that some like candidates also took their name out the running because Morey stepped down. So we'll see what they got.
That's tough. Yeah, I think
it's also worth noting that Mike D'Antoni is still on the market.
Mm-hmm.
So could the Rockets get Mike D'Antoni? No, probably not. But
why would they get Mike D'Antoni?
I'm just saying, no. But my point is that like the options are running out fast for Mike D'Antoni if he is looking to be a head coach.
And I don't really like his fit in Oklahoma. So he might be out for the year. Take a break.
Come back next year. Yeah. I'm sure there will be more coaching spots available next year.
Yeah. So
especially I was just gonna say, I don't know. I feel like there should have been more teams that were looking for new head coaches, like I don't know, the Kings or.
I know the Kings hired Alvin Gentry as their top assistant, so I expect through the 20 games next year that Luke Walton will get fired at some point and Gentry will just replace him.
I don't know. The Kings are just there's literally like of all the teams in the NBA, they're like one of the three teams that has nothing going on for them.
Yeah.
So there's
not
really
even
nothing
a new coach. They're just new. I mean, no one's going to sign with the Kings this offseason. Well, no one important, at least.
Yeah.
I won't say important because that seems a little mean. But no, like, superstar or star is going to sign with the Kings in the offseason,
Yeah. So did we want to get into any specifics about the coaching candidates, if any of you guys have thoughts on them?
Well, I think we should start with Stan Van Gundy in New Orleans. I mean, both sides of the coach, Stan Van Gundy and the Pelicans organization is really looking forward to having Stan Van Gundy on board. And I mean, it's good for them. He looks like he's ready to. He looks like he knows the game plan going into it, and he's really ready to see this team like take another step.
Yeah, and there's a tweet a while ago about him like praising like the young talent in New Orleans, which is true. I mean, they have a lot of potential. How it's going to work out, I'm not sure, but I do think they could. I don't know. The West is so stacked this year, so I don't know about a run for like an 8 seed this year.
Yeah,
but maybe in the next couple of years, which is probably like, I think they know it's going to take like a few years for them to really be like in contention for at least like, I don't know, a good playoff run, I guess.
Yeah.
I like the Stan Van Gundy fit in New Orleans.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it was a great hire for them. He had a little bad stint in Detroit, but I also think that was because he was also playing the GM role at the time, and that usually never works out when the coach has both coaching duties and GM duties. But before that, we all know
Bill O'Brien.
But before that, we know he was in Orlando, obviously with Dwight. He made a finals there, and I could kind of see him doing for Zion what he did for Dwight. And you got to remember when he coached the Orlando Magic, you could like pretty much say he was ahead of the NBA's like time frame in terms of 3-point shooting, because what he did in Orlando, he just had Dwight in the paint and just stacked him with shooters all around. And I could kind of see that same thing with Zion.
Yeah.
If Zion could just dominate down low, get in shape, do his thing, surround him with shooters, and then obviously you have Bi also that could get his own bucket. So I think the Pelicans are more talented than his Orlando team, and also not many people mention this. He also made a Eastern Conference Finals with the Miami Heat before Pat Riley eventually took over and won a chip in 2006. So he has a pretty damn good resume, and he's probably the best option for the Pelicans after everyone else that was hired. So I like the fit for sure.
Actually,
it definitely has. I mean, it definitely has good upside. And then he also even posted. I'll go back to what I was saying before about like he kind of knows the game plan going into it. He tweeted something about a couple of stats about like how good the Pelicans are with Zion, and it really shows. He knows what he does know, like what he wants to see happen in New Orleans.
Yeah,
which is play the team to their potential, and which their potential is the playoffs, and he's going to try to get them there. So great young core, if anything, and great coaching resume. New Orleans definitely could have done a much worse job than they did. So, but
yeah, for
they
sure.
did a very good job.
Yeah. To add to Alex's point, I was going to say, I feel like Stan is good at like, he's not like one of those coaches that's like stuck in the past and doesn't know how to like modernize the play style of his team.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, there are coaches all around sports that do that, but especially for the NBA, where now you see, on a regular basis, 120, 130 point games. I think definitely him being able to modernize like the play style, like you said, and keep up with the times is definitely going to help and be an advantage for him. Mm-hmm. So I was just adding on to why I like the fit to your point, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
did you guys have any thoughts on Nate?
I don't know much about him at all.
I'll be honest. No.
I have some stuff on him.
Okay, why don't you inform us then?
Yeah, I'll inform you.
I don't really know who he is.
Okay. One, I do like the hire for sure. He's one of those coaches. He's a first-time coach, but he has the resume that I would like in a first-time coach. First he was an assistant in the D League, then he became a head coach in the D League. He won a D League championship as an assistant, but as a head coach, he improved a lot of teams. He took a couple teams to the D League finals. And then after his D League career, he was an assistant coach under Earl Watson in Phoenix. And then obviously now we know he was Nick Nurse's top assistant, I believe. Mm-hmm. So he does have I do like seeing assistant coaches that have had past head coach experience, whether it was in the D League or maybe college, because I think it is more beneficial to be a head coach of a D League team than being an assistant on an NBA team in some ways, but he has both that experience. And obviously we know how good Nick Nurse is, and he kind of has the same path as Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse was in the D League, then got promoted to NBA assistant, then head coach. So that's a little backstory for Nate B. I didn't know much about him before it either, but just looking at it, he has a resume that you'd like for a first-time coach.
Yeah, and Indiana always, I don't know. I mean, this roster, I think, it's not a finals contending roster, but they always.
It's more so like first round, maybe we'll make a second round roster.
Yeah, and then.
And it's just
if in this year Nate B can push that team past the first round, and if there's some upside that other players can see in Indiana, maybe they want to go there, and then they start building a culture, and
exactly,
they keep up with the culture that they've had for since Larry Bird was coaching them, which was like just that really tough, gritty team that is not afraid of anyone. And you saw that again with Frank Vogel and Paul George, and and now you can see it again, maybe with Domantas Sabonis and Miles Turner. And that's another interesting thing, is because with the league going smaller, you have two big guys on the floor. And so Nate B definitely has his work cut out for him, but
especially with the Oladipo questions.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up as well. I think it's like pretty clear that Oladipo wants out, so that's gonna be a big hurdle to overcome, because when at full potential, Oladipo, I would argue, is probably their best player.
Yeah,
I'd argue maybe Sabonis, but I know there are a bunch of teams that are in on Miles Turner, because a lot of teams need like a rim protecting big, like he is.
Stretch the floor too.
Yeah, so depending on how the Pacers offseason goes, I'm sure we could see him back in the playoffs next year, but it's going to be a lot more difficult if you end up losing a player like Oladipo, depending on what you get in return for him.
And they definitely overperformed this year, because they were obviously, they didn't have Oladipo, and then they had Miles Turner, who was injured for large stretches of the season, and then
even Brogdon is injured too.
Yeah, they had a lot of big injuries to their roster, but they kept fighting, and they were able to get that fourth seed. So,
and then Sabonis
Indiana definitely has potential. What was that?
Yeah, that's true. Sabonis was out for the playoffs too.
That's true.
And I know they got swept, and I don't think they would have beat the Heat anyways, clearly, because the Heat works as the best team in the East. But still,
getting swept,
a lot of injuries.
The best look, yeah. But yeah, so like you said, Max, though, and I guess he comes in there trying to build a culture for them instead of foundation. So, yeah.
All right, and then Alex, your team as a new head coach, Ty Lue, and they also brought in.
I saw coming a mile away. I don't know why they waited.
Yeah,
so
long.
I get why they waited so long, but
I'm not surprised at the coach decision at all. But they also brought in Kenny Atkinson.
Well, not official yet, but
oh well,
they're
probably Yeah, I was gonna say I like the hire. Obviously, I either wanted Ty Lue or a first-time head coach. So, I mean, when he was hired, obviously I had questions about, just because he is like a Doc dude, he's been an assistant under Doc for a while. But if you see, he has a much more modernized offense and a much better feel for the game than Doc. You could watch like his tapes in Cleveland with Channing Frye and Kevin Love, with Kyle Korver. His offense is a bunch of motion, a bunch of moving around, a lot of ball movement, setting picks, all that. And compared to Doc, a lot of Doc's offense to me when watching, it was a lot of ISO ball, and it made it a lot more difficult on the dudes. So I could see Ty Lue elevating PG's game a little bit, especially Landry Shamit's, hopefully Ivica Zubac. And he holds people accountable for sure. We all know that. This is the same guy that told LeBron he has to get his ass in shape and called him out at halftime in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. So I like to hire. And you mentioned Ethan, Kenny Atkinson. I like that they're bringing in new, like, fresh blood into organization. And they mentioned at the press conference they need to get better in the player development department, because the situation with their picks, they kind of got to develop these second rounders better. to contribute to the team. So I like Kenny Atkinson as an assistant under Ty Lue. Chauncey Billups is another assistant I also like.
Right.
Did they add him, or was he already?
Yeah, he's official. And then they're trying to get an assistant from Miami, Dan Craig, which I actually wanted him to be in the running for Clippers head coach. Like Nate B, he has that track record of D-League development assistant coach. So I like the direction the team is going with Ty Lue for sure.
Yeah, and Ty Lue, I don't know, because I kind of get like mixed signals from Ty Lue because, and I think I've explained this before, but like the story in Cleveland was he was just LeBron's lackey and whatever. So, but
That's the
end
same
of the day,
thing with every LeBron head coach, though. So
that's true. But I feel like that was a really big story in Cleveland. But either way, he still won the title, so he brings that experience. And he definitely brings a toughness to it if he's calling LeBron out in a Game 7 of the Finals. And not only that, he's been with this team for a full year already. So he knows, and he's seen the team at its worst, which is what everyone else saw. And he's seen the team at its best. And he knows how the team could be even better. So for the Clippers, Ty Lue is definitely a very solid hire. I think for me personally, it remains to be seen how good of a coach he is until, kind of we're like in the middle of the next season. But Clippers definitely did, I'm not surprised. Clippers definitely did a decent job. And then bringing in assistant coaches with a lot of experience to back Ty Lue is also very good. I mean, I think the Clippers, after their collapse in the second round, they need a massive overhaul of some kind. So, something.
A new regime. Yeah.
Something needs to change. And the Clippers are doing that. And credit to your owner, Steve Ballmer, because he's the one that's heading this overhaul. He's the one that wanted Doc out. He's, and he's very hands-on with all the decisions that the organization makes.
Yeah, and before you go, Ethan, like you mentioned, it took a while to make this hire, but I think that was just Ballmer. This was his first time doing a head coaching search as owner of the Clippers. So I know Woj said they interviewed like 10 to 12 candidates. So I trust the decision him and Lawrence Frank made for sure.
Oh, I don't really think there's much to add. I like the Ty Lue hire. I think the accountability thing is big, especially because, you could kind of see Doc he's more like the player's coach where he like can be too friendly at times. And especially in a professional sports league, you can't really be like that, especially when it comes to playoff time. You have to have a good balance. Yeah, you definitely have to have a good balance. Like the relationship with the players is important, all that. But there comes a time where, like maybe in the playoffs where you got to hold your players accountable and you got to be able to make the adjustments. And I think Ty Lue can do that. And like you said, he's already been with the organization for a year, so he kind of knows it inside out already.
Yeah, and like just the accountability thing real quick. Like I read some work in Cleveland, like he would bench like Kevin Love in favor of Tristan Thompson and Richard Jefferson in fourth quarters. And that just shows like, he doesn't care how much money you make or if you're the third star, like I got to do what I got to do to win.
Yeah, of course. Definitely. So, we have anything else to say about coaching?
No, we went over everything. I mean, Daryl Morey stepped down, so I don't know what the future is for him.
Or the Rockets. It's really ambiguous right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I mean, I guess I don't really know who else is available. That's the thing.
For the Rockets, I hear
Jeff Van Gundy,
which I don't know, man. He does have a good resume as a head coach, actually, but he hasn't coached in 13 years. And unlike his brother Stan, I'm not sure if he has a modernized approach to it.
Yeah, and the Rockets are a very modernized basketball team.
Like the way you hear him on the broadcast, he like hates the new NBA. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, he hates dude. It's so, and that's another reason why I want Jeff Van Gundy. I don't want Jeff Van Gundy head coaching again, although it might be good for him. But like, I love listening to that dude on the broadcast. I think he's so funny.
Yeah.
Saying how like everyone is soft these days, and
yeah,
it's just I love it. I think it's so funny.
Yeah, and with the Thunder, I haven't even heard like many like interviews they had. Like I even searched it up like online. Like it seems like they've been keeping everything pretty quiet. So we'll see.
Yeah, there's really been no news about. I mean, really for the Rockets and Thunder, there's been no news about like interviews or anything. They've just, I guess they're either keeping it quiet or they haven't really figured anything out yet. But
yeah,
I'd like to believe that Sam Presti is just keeping it quiet.
Yeah,
I mean, a guy
sure.
who has all these draft picks definitely has an idea of what to do.
I don't know so much about the Rockets though.
Yeah, I think the Rockets are,
especially because, I mean, I think a GM would be the more important job, so that might be their main focus right now.
Yeah, because you don't want to hire a head coach and then get a new GM that didn't hire the head coach. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's a hot take. I'll give a hot take, or maybe it's not even a hot take. A lukewarm take. No matter who the Rockets hire, they will not be in contention for a title until the James Harden era is over, and they're on the other side of that.
Well, I think when the James Harden era over, they'll probably become a lottery team. So
I think they missed.
They won't become a contender until they go through the lottery system again and find another superstar.
They missed their window when Chris Paul tore his hamstring, like you said, Ethan. That's when they missed their window.
It's unfortunate for them.
Yeah.
But I think at this point, not that James Harden is a bad player, obviously he's like top 5, but somewhere around that number.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think honestly they missed their window, and I think they missed out by making that trade for Russell Westbrook.
For sure.
Looking back, the first podcast we ever did, I said it would probably be the one trade that works out the best, or I don't remember what it was. But I'll retract that statement.
Yeah.
And here's another interesting thing. Now Daryl Morey is on the market, and he's a very good GM. So any teams looking to any teams that are looking to make another massive overhaul like the Clippers, not quite at the Clippers didn't do it at the GM level, but any team that is looking to do that at the GM level, they have a very, very qualified and his resume is right there. He's been able to get stars and whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I still think like to this day that Russell Westbrook trade was more of a ownership thing from the Rockets, because like Russell Westbrook is the anti-Daryl Morey player.
I think that was a James Harden type decision.
Yeah, James Harden ownership, whatever. So, yeah.
Moving on, we got that out of the way. Let's move on to the start of the season, which I didn't even think we were going to get news on for a little bit.
Yeah, me either.
There's actually something that came out within the last couple of days.
It's hard for me. Okay, so the news that came out is they're trying to like start the next season December 22nd, which I think might be way too soon.
I think so too.
Or I think it's just way too soon. And as much as we want basketball back as fans first, obviously, but I mean the season literally just ended like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And they're already talking about starting it in like 2 months, less than 2 months now. I just don't think I don't think that's enough time for, players to, train this off season and relax after most who spent a really long time in the bubble. Yeah. And, for, I guess, teams that weren't in the bubble, I guess it's probably a great time to start for them because they have the advantage of having more rest, especially a team like the Warriors. But then
they also have the chance that they'll come back rusty.
Yeah, exactly. But you also have to account for like usually in the NBA offseason, there's a draft, which I know they're still going to have, but then they do like the summer league. And
I think
just think it's way too soon. And with the draft and free agency, especially because free agency goes on like all off season.
Yeah.
I know like once it starts is when, most of the deals get done, but then, there's trades, there's, and then with everything going on, people got to go through like COVID protocol, stuff like that. And then I just think it's just way too soon. I think it's really got to hold off until, I think there were reports like March next year.
I thought like maybe January would have been better, but like you said, Ethan, with the whole COVID protocol, like it's not practical to have another bubble. But I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
you see all these videos with like NBA players like playing pickup stuff during the summer, and I
Yeah.
mean they could do what they want, they're free to. But like once the season starts, I'm not with 80. You know, the NFL has done like okay so far. Like there obviously have been like COVID cases and stuff like that, but it's a lot easier to maintain when it's 16 games versus a 72 game season for the
Yeah.
NBA. And I don't know, man. I'm not sure these dudes are gonna be doing. I'm sure they'll try their best, but then like I just said, you see the pickup games. Like I'm not sure I like trust these dudes to not have like a team COVID breakout at some point in the season. So I don't know. We'll see
Yeah.
because they're trying to get fans back in too, if possible. Like that's the thing. I don't know if they start this soon. I don't see how they could put out the best product
Yeah,
if they
especially
start in December.
because even like for example, the NFL didn't even have like a regular offseason. They had no preseason. Training camps I think were shortened,
Yeah.
and teams still like broke out. Like there was the Titans that had a bunch that like really just flew off the rails with
Yeah.
COVID, where there was like 20 players and staff like had COVID at one time. But yeah, like you said, I think starting this soon with, Trump says there's a vaccine coming in the next few weeks. I don't believe that personally, but
well, we just
even if
lost all our conservative audience with
Yeah.
that remark.
okay, listen, I'm not trying to make this political. I just don't believe that there's a vaccine ready to come in the next 2 weeks. If there is, that's great. Like, fantastic. I would love that because, people want to get out more and people want to watch sports without, people
At
don't
the
want
end of
to
the
go out
day,
and risk it.
Yeah.
at the end of the day, he's the only one that said that there's a vaccine coming, and no one else has said that. So
Yeah, so that's why it's not
a little iffy, to say the least.
Yeah. But anyways,
Go ahead, Max.
Max,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. So some of the major headlines that came out, we already kind of went through it. They want to start December 22nd and do a 72 game season, which let me propose something in case Adam Silver and the Board of Governors is listening. Maybe start training camp December 22nd and then start a month later. And instead of a 72 game season, make it 62 games. Because what a lot of the players want to do is to get the season over with in time for the Olympics. Hope Alex is good.
You can see him in his mirror.
Yeah. But a lot of the international players, especially, they want to get the season over with before the Olympics. So I think they should even shorten the schedule even more to like a 62, 64 game season. And then a bubble won't be practical at all because the bubble worked this time because it was the playoffs. And that's kind of the playoffs is, obviously a lot shorter than the rest of the regular season. And then we've seen some of the negatives to having a shortened season with so many games is that players have less time to rest. Their body goes through a lot more. And then you get an incident like Derrick Rose, who went down during a shortened season. And so you want to minimize the risk of injury. And then as far as fans go, that's going to be tricky because, well, for one thing, NBA arenas are not outdoors like NFL stadiums. So it's going to be a little bit tricky. Also, what I don't like about having fans in the arenas is because you do draw a crowd of people into one place. Yeah, it's spread out, but you do draw that crowd in. So you do have to find that balance. I think, I don't know, with the revenue loss and everything, you might have to start letting people in, but definitely take very, very strict measures. No contact with players and whatever. Or maybe create like a smaller version of the bubble where players go in for a couple weeks and then they leave and they come back. I don't know how it's all going to really work.
I saw that idea. So I don't know if the NBA proposed it or I just saw it somewhere. It was like maybe they'll have teams play in divisions and they'll have like a bubble while they play those certain teams.
right?
Like you
And then they
mentioned.
go
Yeah.
out and come back.
Yeah.
I don't know. So
I was gonna add to the injury part. For any of you football fans out there, just because they've kind of had like, I guess you could compare like what they're doing to what the NBA like might do, like a shortened off season, then little to no fans, and then maybe like a postseason bubble, possibly. I don't know if that's happening for football, but the problem is, like Max said earlier, with the injuries. If you watch football, you know that half the league is fucking injured right now. I mean, like no training camps, no time, no really time
preseason.
No preseason to get like in game
reps and stuff.
Reps like that. And the last thing anyone wants to see for any sport as a fan is just an influx of injuries, just week after week after week. And I guess like the injuries have, I think, maybe gone down a little bit, but like at the start of the season, before players get their reps in and everything, there's going to be, I would have to imagine, a lot more injuries, and I think that's something they want to avoid. So they got to have, I mean, I just think just starting December 22nd is way too soon. I think they really got to get like a good solid training camp in, and maybe some preseason games. You don't even have to do much, maybe like 4 or 5, but I just think that that's very important if we're trying to avoid injury. But it's difficult with COVID happening, so it's gonna be a tough plan to start if they were to actually start the season that soon.
Right. And I'm going to add on to that and say that the whole injuries thing and players getting rest and players having to get their reps, it's complicated because every team besides 2 left the bubble early. And so I don't know, it's a case by case basis, because you have the Warriors who haven't played in almost a year, and all the teams that didn't make the bubble. Right. And the Warriors especially is one team that I'm going to mark because they're actually supposed to be good this next season. And then you have, teams like the Heat and the Lakers, especially with LeBron. He takes great care of his body, and but he is getting older. So you do have to, if you're the Lakers, you have to keep that in mind. That's like, well, here's our superstar. He's getting older, and we have such a short window for him to get rest after working so hard. So for the young teams, it's all about getting your reps in. And then for kind of the teams that were in the bubble a longer period of time, it's about getting that rest. And so that's a tricky balance that the NBA is going to have to realize, that different teams are going to have to make different decisions.
Yeah, and I was just going to say one thing quick on that is also, I think we should also remember, though, I don't remember how long the layoff was, but there's never been a case where like in mid-season there's like a 3-month layoff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I guess that also adds to the time they took off. So I don't know.
I've also seen that they were talking about taking like a 2-week break in the middle of the season and not having like All-Star weekend.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that very well could be a possibility. It really just comes down to what happens with COVID in the coming weeks.
Yeah, All-Star weekend might be a bad idea, because that is something that, a lot of people want to see. Draws a big crowd, for one, which is kind of disappointing because this last All-Star game was probably the best one ever. And
not ever, but in recent memory.
Oh, okay, Mr. Historian.
Just saying.
I don't know. It was definitely the one I'm going to remember for a while. Anyways, but yeah, the All-Star game might not need to happen. Maybe shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
That's all I got on the subject for now until more information comes out.
Pretty good on that also.
All right. So let's get into the main point of our podcast, which is our off-season plans for however long this off-season may be. We do have some podcasts. I would say most of our podcast plan for this offseason are going to be based around arguments we have in our group chat.
Yeah.
But just because I feel like, we, as a group, feel like it's going to be like, they're like super entertaining conversations, especially for podcasts. So more like debates, things like start bench cut. You see that all the time on like Twitter and Instagram. If you guys follow that, who would you rather have, like prime this guy or prime this guy? And then, we're also going to have podcasts talking about certain teams like futures and what the upcoming season may hold for, certain organizations.
It's going to be a big like variety of content that we're going to try to squeeze.
Yeah. And then we were also going to have this. Should I go like specific with what episodes we're going to have, or should I just wait?
Should I? Here, let me. Okay. So
you go ahead.
What we have planned. Okay. Yeah. I'll take over because
we
have, we've discussed some ideas in greater detail than others. So the ones that we have discussed for the immediate future, I think the next episode that you guys see or hear from us is going to be a big discussion between me, Alex, and Ethan, and then two fools from the group chat that we mentioned so often. Really some knuckleheads, some boneheads. As I said that, I like slipped. So it's kind of, anyways, yeah, so we're going to have a couple discussions with them. You guys are going to see firsthand, like, how incredible these discussions can get, to say the least.
Was it Giannis is bodying Pete Maravich?
No, it was, yeah, one of these dudes is like, you think Bob Cousy's guarding Giannis?
Jeremy Lamb is averaging 50 in the 60s.
I don't know, dude. It's
just funny stuff that you guys are going to hear some interesting and hopefully entertaining conversations.
Yeah. People in our group chat forget that people were athletic before 1990.
Yeah. God.
They treat them like they were all in wheelchairs and crutches.
Yeah. And every time a player is good in one of those eras, they always go, well, their competition was weak. And it's like, well, that's,
they're the best in their era. So that's how I compare it. Anyways.
Look, it's
comparing eras.
They did great with what they got.
Topic on our podcast at some point.
Yeah. And that's going to probably give me a brain aneurysm by the end of this offseason because the stuff they say, man, is just crazy. But, kids, I guess we're kids too. They're kids, man. Kids like to disrespect the old generation, the old folks.
We also get called ESPN analysts by our friends.
And we're not okay. First of all,
we just keep it real on the podcast.
Listen, down with the mainstream NBA media, down with that. But they're so far away from the quote unquote mainstream NBA media that they call us ESPN analysts. Because we keep it real.
They're like
whatever.
An alternate we'll let reality.
You guys listen. We'll let you guys make the. I'm sorry we went
you guys will hear but you guys will hear about that soon for sure.
We're also gonna have a hot takes episode where we go over a bunch of hot takes from our group chat and decide whether they're really hot takes or not.
These are gonna be really
which might not be a bad idea to go over with our friends when they come on the
one thing I am pretty excited though for, Max, you brought up this topic, is maybe in some episodes we'll each have our own individual episode going super in detail. A certain topic, and that's I feel like that might be the best content that we might put on this podcast.
Right, that's definitely going to be the most analytical piece of. So okay, because now my mind is everywhere. So one of the things I'm really looking forward to is like Alex and Ethan and I are going to take turns putting out episodes where we just kind of go in depth into one subject. And it's not a discussion between us three. It's one of us going in depth into something that we're relatively passionate about. Like if Ethan wants to say why Jason Tatum is going to lead the Celtics to a championship within the next 3 years, he can do that in his own episode and really make his points clear. And you'll be seeing that more from us. So we really do have a variety of content that we want to supply to keep you guys entertained for the off season. Yep. Let me just read one of the hot takes though that we'll be discussing.
To end off this gracious
just to get you guys to get you guys hyped for what we're doing and kind of get you guys in the zone of like what we deal with on a daily basis. One of the hot takes, it's not from any of the guys that are going to be on the podcast, but it is from the group chat. One of the hot takes was PJ Tucker would average 20 and 10 in the 80s.
That's horrible.
Oh, man.
What?
What?
Like, I don't know where you like. How do you think of that? How do you let your mind get so low to think of that?
How's that low?
Because it's like, how do you just? It's dumb.
I'm just gonna say that our new logo is coming soon. A new official logo is coming soon.
Yes, so we are gonna redesign some stuff around here.
Yeah. We got big plans for this off season, and we're also. It's going to be really important to follow our Twitter and Instagram soon because we're going to get that going. I'll probably most likely be handling Twitter. Alex will be handling Instagram. So, if any viewer ever DMs us, just know that's who you're talking to. If you DM us on Twitter and Instagram, and then, Max does all the behind the scenes stuff like the editing.
Thank you, Max.
Yeah. Shout out to Max for that one. But, yeah, we got big plans this offseason, so we're all really excited. I hope you guys are excited too. Yeah, man, I think that's it. I'm really excited for this, what we got going this offseason. We're really trying to branch out, do new things, make the podcast more entertaining. So yeah, I mean, I hope you guys are as excited as we are.
I second that.
Third.
This offseason is going to be lit.
As the youngsters would say.
Oh God, I'd like to contest that, please. I'm just kidding.
All right,
let's end this.
Let's
wrap it up. Wrap it up, baby.
Yeah.
From the Contessa NBA crew, I'm your co-host Ethan Cope here, with Max and Alex again. That was horrible.
Anyways, thanks for listening, y'all.
I mean, thank you guys for listening. Make sure to like, share, subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, Apple Spotify. Music. We're on Apple Music as well. We're on all those platforms, and we're still trying to figure out Instagram and Twitter, but go follow us on there so you guys are ready for the content we're going to put out this off season. And if there's anything you disagree with us on, go ahead and contest it. See you guys next time.
Yeah.